The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
We hear questions like these all the time. Can TSR Injury Law help me if I'm hit by a driver with no insurance? Yes. How about if not enough insurance? Yep. If you've been injured, it's TSR time. Call us today for a free consultation at 612-TSR-TIME.
It's the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm, episode number 5 now. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk football on the podcast, and we're going to do that with Golden Gopher quarterback Tanner Morgan. He's one of our favorites. As we talk football, it's the perfect time to kick off our new presenting sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast, Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Our thanks to the great folks there. They're big Gopher fans, and if you're buying or selling a business, you want to visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. I'm super excited about the partnership with the great folks at Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Our podcast is also sponsored by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at ChamplinInsurance.com. We invite you to subscribe to the podcast. We've had some good ones, and they're in the hopper now. A reminder, it's absolutely free for you to subscribe and free to listen at any time. This week, we talked to the Golden Gopher quarterback Tanner Morgan. He'll embark on his 6th season with the Maroon and Gold in 2022. Before we do that, I want to talk about our new sponsor. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors or True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com today. Quarterback Tanner Morgan will join us after this on the Go Gopher podcast.
Hey Gopher fans, this is your State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. We are super excited to be part of the new Mike Grimm Show on Talk North. For the year of 2022, we will be donating $10 to the University of Minnesota Children's Masonics Hospital for everyone that calls our office or checks in with us online and mentions that they heard about us on Talk North and the Mike Grimm Show. We are really excited again that Mike came on board with Talk North. You can reach us at 763-421-4900. You can find us on the web at ChamplinInsurance.com. Again, 763-421-4900, or find us on the web at ChamplinInsurance.com. Roll the boat, Sky Yuma, go Gophers.
We are now joined by the Golden Gopher quarterback Tanner Morgan, and first of all, good to see you.
Yeah, it's always great to see you, Grimmy.
And it's always good to talk football. There's never not a good time to talk football, so I'm excited about this. This is episode 5 of our Go Gopher podcast. We've talked a lot of basketball throughout the first handful, as you might guess, because it's basketball season, but there's never a bad time to talk football.
I 100% agree with you.
So what have you been doing to keep yourself busy since you got the nice bowl win in Phoenix? I know you have a new offensive coordinator, but he's not totally new because he's old again. I guess the old saying, what's old again is new again. And how has that been? Kind of take us through what's happened since late December for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So, after the bowl game, got a little time off, for the guys to kind of reset and get ready for this 2022 year. We came back, and the guys have really been working really hard in the weight room, out in the field, in the classroom, film study, all that kind of stuff, which has been awesome. And just focusing on little details and what habits are going to help us get to those eventually where we want to get to next year, and December, January. Coach Strock coming back is awesome. It's been really a pleasure to be able to, just sit in meetings and kind of learn new stuff, continue to dig up old stuff that we used to do, maybe, philosophy, different terms, ways to think about new things, ways to think about, to talk about, coverages, protections, and things like that, of defenses being able to, in January and February, that kind of pre-spring ball time is very important, and it's vital to the learning process and the growth process of not only individuals, but especially as a team, to really put yourself in the best situation to take a big step in spring ball. And then eventually the summer is the same kind of thing, same catalyst for fall camp, even at a higher level, because the season's even closer. But just being able to be in those meetings and being able to be back on the field with the guys, running around and stuff, obviously with coaches can't go out there with, footballs and all those kinds of different rules. But just seeing the guys that are wanting to work and put in the effort and just, the energy that's in the weight room every day and around the building is really awesome to see.
Yeah, and certainly that's, I guess, the strength staff is the one part of the staff that you really guys can see here in the off season and certainly in the summer as well. How much can you do, though, with just meeting with coaches? I know they can't go run a practice per se in the indoor or anything, but can you, at your leisure, just go, sit down with the offensive coordinator and go over film or go over plays or what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. We have scheduled meetings every week that are on our schedule. And then there's obviously different times where you can go in there and ask questions, ask about different things, which is, an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. And throughout our meetings that we've had this whole winter, since we come back in January, just been absolutely awesome. We've had team meetings as well every week to be able to kind of portray a vision for us and be able to get back in the team. And Coach Fleck in front of the whole team is obviously always electric, and it's really awesome. And we're excited for, the opportunity every day to be able to get better and to be able to get 1% better. And I think it's been a really awesome growth opportunity the past couple of weeks.
Coach Fleck mentioned when Kirk Shiraka accepted the job to come back, they met. I think they were out recruiting and they met somewhere. And he said it was like there was no time had expired from between the time Coach left to when he got back, and that he just said, "Yeah, let's get in the car and we'll go see this kid." I forget who they were going to see, but is it similar to you that all of a sudden you sit down with your playbook and start talking and it's like time stood still for a minute?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because Coach Rock is somebody that I've always I've known him for a long time now, going back into high school, which is a long time ago for me. But it's someone that I've always really valued and respected his relationship and his advice. Not even with just football. Just his outlook on life as well is something that I've always valued and respected. And when he got back, just being able to talk about stuff like that and more importantly, to talk about football stuff, I really just started clicking right away. And it's pretty special. And I'm excited to, every meeting, every opportunity you get to be around that guy is really a blessing, because he's one of the best in the business, in my opinion. The knowledge that he's gained over his years is really remarkable. So every opportunity you get to kind of pick up a little nugget here or there, you got to take it and be able to run with it. And because he's, in my opinion, one of the smartest coaches in the country, because he works really hard at what he does, and he has for a really long time.
Are you feeling too maybe that you're back in a comfort zone that you find yourself in? And that's not to say that there's any approaches that are right or wrong and anything like that. But this is kind of the guy that nursed you along, so to speak, as a freshman on the scout team, all the way up into being an all-conference quarterback. So is there some comfort now, maybe that you're back to, that maybe with just change in general sometimes gets you out of your comfort zone, that now maybe you're back in it?
Yeah, it's definitely a comfortable place. But it's comfortable in the sense of, you're going to be pushed every single day. You know that the standard is extremely high, and it always has been and always will be. And with Coach Taraki, he's going to hold that standard to a really high level. And it's very comfortable too, because it's, the way that I was trained mentally as a quarterback, dating back, to 2017. But he has a very high standard, with details and all those kinds of things. And it's comfortable, but it's not a complacent comfortable, if that makes sense. That you got to be on your details to make sure that that the whole picture works together. And the quarterback position is a huge part of that.
Yeah, I've watched him conduct practice. There's times where he definitely will get on the quarterback, right? So it's not like, hey, this is awesome all the time, in the sense that you're comfortable and he's not going to try to get you on edge sometime to get better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He coaches every little thing always. Whether the play worked in practice, but if in his mind it was a lucky thing, you're going to get coached in the meeting or out on the field. And he coaches every detail, every little aspect of it. What was the coverage on this? He's always making your mind work every day in those meetings out on the field, so that when you get out into the game, it's way more comfortable, and you know what you've done, and you've done it so many times that it just becomes second nature. But yeah, he coaches everybody really hard, and all those little details, again, are things that he always looks out for.
So you are back for a 6th season. Take us through the decision, because you certainly could have had options. You could have tried pro football. With the portal now, you could have been a grad transfer too. You could have said, "Hey, I'm going to go try some other place." Take me through the decision as to why you chose. Hey, I'm staying here with the maroon and gold, and this is the right decision for me.
Yeah, I think for me it boiled down to something pretty easily and pretty simple. And the first thing is, do you love to play football? And the easy answer to that was yes. And to me, the second question was, there's no other place to do it than here. And for the University of Minnesota, for these coaches, for the players that I've developed these great relationships with, and there's no guarantees in life. And I knew if there was one guarantee that I could play football for one more year, why not do it? And there was no other question of where I was going to be. It was going to be in the maroon and gold, in the row the boat culture. And I'm honored. And I didn't think I'd be in college for 6 years, Grimmy. Just being honest, if you asked me that a couple of years ago. But I think God works everything out and weird timing sometimes. Maybe not the way you would have drawn it up when I was a 17-year-old freshman. I probably wouldn't have drawn up 6 years.
Yeah.
But I'm honored to be a part of this program and be a part of this university, for one more year as a student athlete, but really for the rest of my life too. I'll forever will be a Golden Gopher, and that's something that I will pride myself on for the rest of my life. Well,
and I can tell you, too, coming from the other side now, I'm on the other side of that. I'm over 50 now. I turned 50 last year, so I'm 51 now. And I think about this. I'm like, yeah, if you could go back to college, you would do it. That is one of the best parts of your life. My son's a senior in college right now as well, and I always tell him, hey, there's no rush into getting into real life. Yes, you want to be a taskmaster and you want to get good grades and you want to do all those things, but by the same token, there's other things in real life that hit you that college is a breeze at times. So I agree. I say, hey, 6 years is great, and there's some guys that had 7 years. Last year we had Micah Dew Treadway on the field, who was his 7th year of college, and I tip my cap. There's guys and women my age that would be like, yeah, if I could go back, I'd go 6 years. Why not? It's an enjoyable part. It's meaningful people that you're around. So, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, no question. It's people always say it's the greatest time of your life, and I think just looking at the relationships that you get to build, especially being a student athlete here at this university, being a part of our culture, a part of our program, it's pretty special when you look at it. Not only you're not talking about just players and coaches, you're talking about all kinds of people. Being able to to talk to you. It's something I cherish, being able to talk to all the different people you are able to interact with on a weekly or monthly basis, on a daily basis in the building. It's really special, and it's something that I'll cherish in this last year. Being a student athlete here at the U.
And when you're a student athlete, let's face it too, in the real world, you have it such that you're going to school. Like some kids may say, I'd love to go back a sixth year, but I've got to fork over $40,000 to do that. Where as a student athlete, you're going to end up right with a master's degree before the start of this coming season, which is incredible.
Yeah, I'll graduate with my sports management MED this summer, and being able to leave college with 2 degrees and not be in debt, again, is, a blessing of being a student athlete that is on scholarship. Sometimes I really, to be honest with you, don't think about how much debt I could potentially be in right now if I wasn't on scholarship, and start to think about it. Like, that's a lot of money. I'm talking about friends who are, I went to high school with, whatever, that are having to pay their student debt off. And it's like, man, well, I'm very thankful to be in the position I am, to graduate and not be in any debt of that sort. So it's definitely a blessing, and I'm thankful for all the classes that I've been in, and to be able to leave with this master's degree in sports management will be pretty cool.
At the same time, the work you guys put in and play in front of big crowds that produce revenue and all that stuff, it's clearly, you're earning. It's not as if it's just a gift. I mean, this is you're earning your side of the deal as well. And some, and we won't get into that on this podcast. Someday we could, in terms of, should athletes be paid and all that. And I know there's a name, image, and likeness that you've been able to crack into a little bit as well. But it's a two-way street. You're obviously giving the school, your best years as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, again, it's a mutual relationship. You grow up and you want to play in those big environments and these big universities, and they're able to provide that for you. And, for us at the U, there's so many resources that we have now. It's remarkable, from, sports psychology to recovery stuff in our facility. Just walk through our facility. It's immaculate, really. And you have so many resources that, it's clear to see that the administration and university really cares about its student athletes, not only from a performance standpoint, but from a mental health standpoint as well, which is vital. And so again, like I said, it's a mutual relationship, and being able to be a part of this university is something you have to cherish and be thankful for, because there's a lot of elite people from top to bottom in it.
And you, of course, now in year 6 have some guys that you came into school with that also have chosen to come back. I'm thinking of Chris Altman-Bell, Muhammad Ibrahim, John Michael Schmitz. Am I forgetting some folks in there too? But those 3 are 3 of the bigger ones, obviously, and they're an important piece to what could be a very good offense this fall. How cool is it that you guys are? And look, there were circumstances with COVID and different injuries and different things that have kind of led you all to have this 6th year together. But how cool is it that you guys get to have that last year, that last hurrah, and kind of relish in that a bit?
Yeah, it's really special. There's no questions of, are you coming back? Are you going to do this or do that anymore? It's really, we got one more ride together, one more chance to be a part of this team. And, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's do it the way that we want to do it, and be the best leaders we can be for these guys, so that 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, Minnesota has a standard of the way they do it, and, the row the boat culture, holding things to a really high standard, and only continue to get better and better each year and year as you look to the foreseeable future. But to be able to play with those guys one more time, go through winter workouts, all this kind of stuff again is a blessing. With John, Axel
Chris, too, yeah, good point.
And Mo and all those guys, and then we brought in Chuck, Michigan transfer, who's also in his 6th year, who's played a lot of big time ball in his day. So it's really cool. Again, like I said, you probably wouldn't draw it up for either of us if we were freshmen in 2017, thinking 4 or 5 years. There was no 6th year. The only 6th year was Rodney Smith, and that's because he had a red shirt and then the ACL with his medical red shirt. But again, it's really cool to be able to do that we got to see guys that came in together and played 6 years last year go out, with Sam, Connor, Coney, a large list of guys. And so for us to do it is special and something that we cherish and understand it's an incredible opportunity that, there's a lot of responsibility to as well.
Can you explain to people what it's like to be in a locker room that's tight like you guys have and that's been around for a while? And look, even in real world, people work and might have, some of their best friends that they work with. And you kind of are going through that here at the college level because it is work and it is fun. But what can you explain kind of what that's like to be going through this, what you're going through as a football player with the same general group of guys through this 6-year stretch?
Yeah, of course. I think, it all starts in the locker room. There's discussions about anything and everything in there, from actually football to certain plays that happened, maybe 3-4 years ago, to, everyday life that happens. It's a special thing. But again, I think what's special is that kind of stuff starts in there, but then it branches out, right? So it branches out to when you leave the facility and, you're hanging out with guys, on Thursday night, doing whatever, playing cards or hanging out, playing Xbox, getting extra work in together on a Saturday morning, all that kind of stuff. So it all starts in the locker room, but the bonds are built, everywhere in your life, I think, throughout being a student athlete. And that's what's really special when you have a close team. Because you want to be around the guys, you want to be around not just 1, 2, or three of your teammates, but you want to be around everybody. And I think that's what makes us really special. And being a part of that is special too.
Yeah, and you get to experience it, and you mentioned plays, and I think of some of the plays over the years, and obviously people remember some of the big ones, but I remember the, was it 3rd and 30 with the 3-yard line, and you get some of it, and then you convert on 4th, and then you move down and Tyler Johnson scores a touchdown, and my hunch is that, whenever there's reunions or whatever, and you guys get together someplace here on campus or wherever it might be, that those are some things that you guys will talk about. It might not always be remember when we beat Penn State, which of course is a huge, great memory, but it might be you beat Georgia Southern in that crazy ending. Or it might be, hey, remember when we all went out to eat at the Chinese restaurant that day and whatever, right?
Right. Yeah, or it could be a moment in practice that nobody on the outside saw, but maybe you and just a couple of teammates, or, a moment in winter workouts. And that's what's cool is you've lived so many moments that you have the opportunity to share those with a lot of people.
As you are the quarterback, that puts you kind of in the spotlight, maybe more than anybody else on the team outside of the head coach, right? How do you handle and how do you maintain both when things are going well and everyone says you're the greatest guy since sliced bread and you're going to be an NFL quarterback, and then sometimes we all have bad days when the day doesn't go great, the quarterback gets looked at, and you probably don't want to look at Twitter maybe on that day. How do you manage all that stuff as the leader of the team and as the quarterback?
Yeah, I think for one, I've lived both. I've lived both ends of that in my career. I've had a lot of really highs, and I've had lows too. And I think for me, one is the knowledge of social media is anybody can say anything they want on there. So it's not if you're drawing your worth from there. For one, just everyday life, I think too. If you draw your worth from social media, you're gonna compare yourself to a lot of other people, do all kinds of different things. But for two, especially for a student athlete, you're in this position. If you draw your performance worth or even your self-worth really from those apps, it's not going to be a sustainable thing. And I think for me, that's where, my faith comes in, which again, it's not always easy, but that's where it comes in of knowing, for one, who I am, whose I am, and where I'm rooted. That's where it starts. But again, you have to know why you're doing it and who you do it for. Because I promise you, nobody's harder on themselves than me. Nobody's watching the film, if things don't go right, being harder on themselves than me. And that's kind of the way it goes, and I do believe, fans and, have a right to not be happy when things don't go well. So trust me, if that's the way it is, my frustrations are right there with you. But again, I think it all goes down to where are you drawing your worth from, and who are you doing it for?
And in relation to that, I think, the social media stuff it can get toxic, because I think if one person says something, then it becomes easier if that guy says it, I'm going to say it. Now all of a sudden it kind of becomes a pile on. And the thing that bugs me a little bit about it is, because I do understand the frustration, even as sometimes the radio announcer will get frustrated as, oh man, that was this or that was this. I get that. And I make mistakes and call the guy the wrong name, and I get mad at myself. But I think where I think the line has to sometimes get drawn is the idea that I think people almost treat it like it's a video game, like you guys are robots as opposed to human beings, and young human beings. It isn't a situation like that. So I wish people would be a little bit more. The real idiot trolls, those you can just okay, fine. I mean, those guys are just idiots. They're just trying to fish for a reaction. But there are some times where people that have been supporters sometimes will jump on you or whoever else it might be, the head coach, the radio guy, whoever, and so then it becomes a different thing. It's like, hey, it's a human being there. It's not just a robot or a video game character, you and your teammates, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, this is part of it. If you want to play at this level, you're going to have to endure it in some capacity. The greatest do. I think of Kirk Cousins with the Vikings, who's put up a lot of fantastic numbers, a lot of great years, and people seem to not like him too much at times either.
Right.
And he produces extremely well, and watching him is phenomenal, I think. But again, like I said, it's part of it. You have to endure it, and I think as an athlete, you just have to know. And sometimes, if you do happen to see one there, you just kind of got to laugh at it. But what you can't do is, if things go well, you can't be searching your name up, doing stuff like that, because it has to be a consistent action, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it can have a factor, I think, sometimes on your not you personally, but just you can get beat down by it if all of a sudden it's enough. And I also think the other side of it are people who you love who see it, right? Your parents or your siblings or good friends, and that probably might be because you're working hard. Like all you can do is work hard, right? And you just keep working hard, and that probably helps you cope with if there's a struggle. If you had a bad game or there's a struggle, where the other people probably feel a little bit more helpless and probably want to get defensive, right?
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's. Because they know a little bit more of what it's like, probably the people that are really close to you.
Right.
And so maybe they do want to strike out, or I can't believe this or this happened. But again, it really, truthfully, is the same thing for them. You can't draw your worth from that. Even my fiance, you have to have conversation with her, with my mom, uncle, brother, people like that. So you can't really put a lot of stock in it. You can't be on it too much, especially when you are getting messages and all kinds of different stuff like that. It's but it's just part of it, and it's something you have to go through. And if you're doing it for your own glory, you're not going to go very far, in my opinion. It's about doing it for the guys in the locker room, for that university, for the team. If that's what drives you, that's really all that matters, truthfully.
How helpful in the down times is it to have your teammates and your mom and your siblings to help pick you up? Because I know you're a tough guy. You're going to pick yourself up, but you also need a support system too, particularly if you're the quarterback, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a huge part of it, and I think being able to have those conversations, go through emotions, understand what went right, what went wrong. Obviously in the good and the bad, but that's just having those relationships in life in general is something to cherish, honestly.
And then from that point, on the other side, okay, you have a great game and everyone's patting you on the back. There has to be, I know you have to take it in stride, but there also has to be something empowering about that when you get a, hey, we're proud of you, man.
Yeah, I think it is. Obviously when your teammates, family and coaches say that, but it's cool, but it's something you can't hang on like, oh, look at me, look what I did. It's that's what film's for. There's always going to be things where you can go and learn from it and improve from. Whether you felt like you had the best game in the world, there's always going to be something where you can get better at. And vice versa. Whether it was a bad day, there's always positives, and there's always things to learn from. But there's always going to be something to improve on, and that's why you watch the film, and that's why you go attack it each and every day. That's why you come in on Sunday after, watch the film, go back out on the field to correct those things. There's always going to be corrections. There's never going to be a game where everything goes perfect. I can promise you. I can literally promise you that. That's why you do all that stuff.
Well, we talk about that support system, and it's been well documented. Obviously, you lost your dad, and and it's interesting because I lost my dad in 2019. We totally different times in our life. You were a college kid, and I can't imagine that. And I guess I would have been about 49. But like you. My dad was my best friend. We would call every day. If a game was done, he and my mom listened to the game. And so they would call, and it meant something to have your dad call you and say, hey, you sounded great. And Guardsy and I joke about it sometimes because my dad was very proud, right, of his kid who's doing games on the radio. And he oftentimes would say, man, I hope they realize how lucky they are to have you, which is, whatever. And Guardsy would now will tease me with that a little bit, and we have some fun with it. But there is something that's fun about, you only have one dad. And so from that from that standpoint, I'm wondering, as you went through a season, how that was to try to get through it. Cause it still to this, for me, it's now 3 years later, and for you, it's much more recent and you're much younger. And, how is that to, when you're used to getting that call and I'd pick up the phone and, oh yeah, I can't, and that's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. It was very weird, leading up to games, not being able to talk about it. I'll never forget walking out of the stadium for the first time, and he wasn't there. It was, it was very different. It felt very weird. I think the times where, it felt maybe the most was, when those bad days happened. I can think of a couple off the top of my mind. And you didn't have that person there. That in the past was kind of your, positive support person after the game. Maybe that, back in the day, if I felt like I did terrible and he was like, oh no, you were great. And in my mind, I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about, but it still felt nice. So I think it is definitely different. But it makes me thankful for all the times that I had with him and the moments that we bonded and shared over football, and especially over Gopher football is incredibly, means a lot to me. And, one thing I did is he always had this one hat that he called his game hat. And it was actually a hat I gave to him from, I got from the facility, like a dry fit hat. He put my number on the back of it. And so I'll wear that on before the game, and only before the game. And it just kind of makes me feel like, he's there with me, and I know he is, but, again, to have the team and the support that I had going through that was incredibly important. And, it definitely was different. When you go through a loss like that, things aren't going to be the same. You have to navigate through that and feel through that. And, that's why I'm thankful to be a part of the team that was last year and be a part of this team now. And, again, just thinking about the good memories and the memories that I had with them, makes me really happy.
Yeah, there's that's the thing. You have the memories for sure. Because to me, at least personally, for me, the other hard part was that the world just moves on. Like, this is a big deal, and of course it's going to move on, right? But now you have a game. you have birthdays, you have holidays, and it just rolls on. And you're like, man, just there's a void. It's a void. And hey, I love my mom. She creates joy in a different way. And God forbid when that's no longer there, that's going to be a horrific thing too. But and so everyone has their own thing. So that to me, for me personally, has been probably the biggest struggle, is that the world just moves on. Like, the world doesn't care, and it's important to this small group, and everybody around the world goes through the same thing at their own level. And all of a sudden you're 3 years away, and you think about it every day, but it's just a void there that's hard to you can't replace it.
Yeah, it's definitely unreplaceable. It's a little different, and it definitely does make things different. I think it's very easy to be in that position and always question about why things like that happen. Firsthand I can say that, but I think you have to go back and for me, just looking at it and understanding that when you go through hard times and go through sufferings, that produces a lot of fruit with the way that you handle it. And you might not understand. You might be just trying to survive each and every day, but you might be giving a lot of people strength by how you handle that really tough situation in life. And I think that's kind of important to remember, kind of the big picture of it. And I can't wait till one day be able to see my dad in heaven, and I long for that moment whenever it happens. Man, hopefully a long time away. But,
yeah, right. Well.
It'll be a fun moment,
and certainly he is looking down and proud every day, so for sure. And what a attitude, and what a great thought process that you have put into this, and in a situation that hasn't, you wouldn't want to go through it, and you are, and you're handling it and making the best of it, and trying to make a positive out of it. So that's awesome, and I know he's looking down very proud. Let's talk some more football. Let's talk about this fall. And where this offense you think can get to. New offensive coordinator, as we said, but the old offensive coordinator. Yeah. You've got some 6-year guys. It looks like you'll have some new guys up front. Not new guys necessarily new, but new starters up front at some spots, and some pass catchers that will be relied upon. Take us through your general thoughts on what this 2022 offense can look like.
We've added some guys to the mix that have played a lot of big time ball. Have experience, have been in programs for a long time. So it's going to be fun to see how those guys compete with each other, how that shakes out. Because there's a lot of guys that, play really hard, play with a lot of how. And I'm excited to see those guys, really every day in practice and continue to work on getting 1% better every day. And just being able to attack it that way. Then we have a lot of guys, on the outside again that have, obviously you have Chris, you have, Mike, Daniel, Dalen, guys who have made a lot of plays, throughout their career, and, guys who, are ready for more opportunities, and they're working hard, and excited to be able to, give them more opportunities, throughout this year, and continue to just work on the little small details of everything, because that's what makes the passing game go. That's what makes everything go, honestly. And obviously our tight ends, we got Brevin, who's been a big part of our offense for the past couple of years, and having him back is huge. Really, I feel really good about the guys we have, about our coaches. I think we have phenomenal coaches at every position group. To be able to go at it together is going to be something that's special. And, there's going to be some obviously tough moments that we have to continue to work through, as we continue to grind through this winter, get into spring ball. But I think we have an opportunity, to do something that can be really fun with each other. And I think we got a lot of guys that are ready and excited for their opportunities. And that's what makes me really happy and excited to be on this journey with them as well.
All right, a couple quick ones. Toughest place you've played football in, toughest environment?
Man, I would say loudest, probably either Nebraska or Iowa. Definitely loud places, people who really care about their football teams. I remember playing in Nebraska in 2018, and it was so loud you couldn't really, hear too far across from the guy. But that's what's fun about playing in the Big Ten and about playing in these stadiums.
Yeah, I remember that game. They were 0-6, and I thought, their crowd might turn on them, and that was not happening. That was pretty impressive. Yeah, that was really the game that you got in there late, right? And never looked back.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. All right. How about a player on the other team's defense that I'm sure there's guys that you have to account for, but maybe a guy that in your time that's like that is the guy that we tried to stay away from the most, or we had to keep the most eye on, or you were most scared that might make a big play?
Yeah, I mean, I think of one right away. Penn State, Micah Parsons. Look what he's doing his rookie year. And I think kind of an underrated guy that we faced the last couple of years is JoJo Doman at Nebraska, who had a phenomenal career, did things really well, really instinctual player. And then, Purdue with George Karlaftis.
Yeah.
Phenomenal player who's, probably going to be a top, first round pick in this upcoming NFL draft. But there's been a lot of phenomenal players that I've played against, and something that I, again, thankful for. And it's what's fun about playing in the Big Ten Conference. You're going to play the best of the best.
Have you been able to make, because now with social media and Big Ten media days and stuff, friends with guys from other teams? And would you consider anybody from another team now like a close friend that you stay in touch with quite a bit? Or maybe there's a few?
Yeah, I would say, the first thing that comes to my mind is Sean Clifford, pretty good friend of mine. I knew him before college, and I think our relationship has grown as, we've kind of both been in the same journey a little bit, both, going 6th year here, playing quarterback in the Big Ten. So that's someone that I can relate to a little bit, and, thankful for his friendship.
Did you guys play against each other like in youth football or something? Did I read that story?
Yeah, we did. We played against each other in 6th grade and 7th grade. He played for CCH, Cincinnati Christian Hills Academy, CCHA. In 6th grade, they beat us 6-0 on a hook and ladder.
Ooh.
That was the only points. And then 7th grade, we ran it up on them a little bit. That was fun.
Are you one of those guys that can remember scores and plays from every game you've played?
I can't remember scores. I definitely remember plays and moments. If you ask me scores, I probably don't.
Yeah.
Even from this past year, probably couldn't tell you. But I can remember plays, and especially plays and big moments.
All right, so there's a few plays I want to ask you about. Indiana, you find Rashad Bateman on the bomb that basically wins the game. Now, the rumor out there was that Coach Shiraka said to Coach Fleck, hey, we could end the game right here. And they said, yes, let's do it. Can you confirm that? Is that really how that unfolded?
I'm like 90% sure that's confirmed, which is pretty cool because it was the perfect coverage for that play. They were playing 4 blitz. We ran a double move with Bate off of RPO that we'd run the whole game, and it hit big.
Bateman's touchdown against Penn State down the sideline where I think Shannon Brooks picked up the blitz. Gave you just
that's a very memorable one.
Yeah,
because it's something that was very noticed against their 2 tilt coverage. So they played 2Z tilt and brought 2 guys, which made it look like a single high, but they actually were playing 2 high deep. So the free safety was on the boundary hash, and he has to run from the boundary hash and cover the deep half of the field. And Coach Soraka figured out the cue of how he would know it was. And so he called it, and then we hit it barely. That guy almost made a play on it when Bates scored, but that was a memorable play.
Yeah, that was a good one for sure. How about this year, the touchdown to Chris Altman-Bell against Wisconsin, which basically gave everyone the ease of feeling that I think the axe is going to stay in Minneapolis. Yeah,
it was a play we repped a lot, and it actually worked out perfectly. We had the 2, inside post routes that kind of cleared the safety, and the safety actually ran into the corner. And you can see he actually was down on the play and actually took a pretty big hit, but it ended up working out perfectly because it ended up being like an indirect pick, and Chris was able to catch it and go run into the end zone with, pretty much ease.
Last one I want to ask you about specific play is, and I could ask you about all kinds of them because I enjoy this kind of stuff. But you hand off to a 375-pound right tackle in the bowl game. That had to be kind of a unique experience. I know that happened in the spring game a few years before, but how happy were you that the big fella got the touchdown?
It was so awesome. Again, it was a play we didn't really put in until late in bowl prep, and when we got down, I think it was. Into that situation, I was like, Simon's going to call it. He's going to call it. He's going to call it. And when we lined up and they called the timeout, Daniel the whole week, he struggled with being able to line up at what yardage. So he just told me, he was like, make sure I'm lined up right. I was like, I got you. Like, just run straight, get the ball, and go in the end zone. And it was awesome. That was very cool.
That was great. And the last one I'll ask you is not a play, but I didn't know that you had this in you. The post-game victory cigar after Wisconsin. That is big time right there. That was beautiful.
Yeah, hopefully we have some more cigars and some big moments in this next year.
No doubt. Let's do that. Well, hey, man, I appreciate the time. Episode 5 of the Gopher podcast is great. And you know this, you're one of our all-time favorites. We appreciate it. And can't wait for spring ball. Can't wait for the fall to get here.
Yeah, can't wait. Thank you very much for having me on, Grimmy.
My thanks to Gopher quarterback Tanner Morgan for joining me on the Go Gopher podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to him as much as I enjoyed talking to him. Our thanks again to our brand new presenting sponsor, Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. So happy to have them on board, and a special thank you to U of M grad Brian Slipka, the CEO. The Go Gopher podcast is also brought to you by State Farm agent Tony Hoagland. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please be sure to subscribe to the Go Gopher podcast right now. It's absolutely free to listen. We'll talk again next week.